Hey, what up YouTube? This is your boy, the Solo Traveler ORD, and thanks again for checking out another one of my videos. Of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell after you subscribe so you can get notifications regarding all my new updates videos that I release. Of course, I release videos every Mondays and Thursdays, and of course, I will release new updates regarding anything related to travel, such as new rules and new changes, like a lot of the stuff that's been going on with Colombia. However, I wanted to go over documentations related to what was reported on last Thursday on March 11th regarding the fact that Colombia is looking to eliminate the PCR test. So I actually have a document here that actually gives us more context related to the fact that what they're looking to do and the process. We all know that Colombia has a process of how they do things. Usually whenever they release statements saying that, you know, they're gonna put in a PCR test, or they're not gonna put it in, or they're gonna eliminate the PCR test, they have to go through a couple of departments per se to make it happen. So last Thursday, which was March 11th, we actually received the first phase of them trying to eliminate the PCR test, which was announcing, stating that they are looking to deny that whole protocol that they have. And of course, it goes through another department, which is basically kind of challenges it, stating like, okay, well, this is what you want to do. So what are the protocols related to making this happen? So that's like the whole summary of what's going on. However, I want to go over this first document stating of what happened on March 11th, and then we'll jump into the other documents relating to what, I guess, the updates of what happened on March 13th, as far as trying to roll this out. So let's check out the first document. So the first document I'm looking at is from El Espectador, which is, the title is Guardianship Ruling That Required PCR Test for International Travelers Revoked. So it says here from the first paragraph, it says the administrative court reversed guardianship ruling that ordered to require PCR tests from travelers, settling an extensive debate. This paragraph, it says here, an extensive debate had led to the decision of a judge of the Republic of Order that the country again required a negative COVID-19 PCR test results for those who intended to enter the national territory, and that in addition, these people must keep a quarantine of 14 days after arrival in the ministry. In November, the requirements were eliminated by the Ministry of Health by protection action by a lawyer, Alberto Gonzalez. He put the matter in consideration of the Administrative Court 11 of the Bogota Circuit, which determined to protect the rights to life and health of the and that once again said conditions will be applied for the entry of travelers. So that was back then. So then, of course, you know, they have the next paragraph here, which goes into, says the court ruling, which was issued on November 25th, arose great controversy among public opinion and led to uncertainty among travelers who did not know whether or not they should have the requirement. The firm upheld the ruling on December 3rd, but this week that department Superior Court resolved the matter. Through an order on March 9th, 2021, the Administrative Court resolved to revoke the decision of the judge of first instance and instead declare the inadmissibility of the constitutional action, which ordered the portfolio to issue an administrative act that would regulate the request for the negative PCR test for COVID-19 to all travelers who will enter the country on international flights. So this paragraph, it says, this ruling was based on considering that the plaintiff did not prove that one or some of his fundamental rights had been violated or threatened. The actor did not prove the legitimacy to act in the agency of the rights of others, that is, to request constitutional protection in favor of the Colombian population, and that the requirement of subsidiarity of the tutelar action was not met. Since the actor has, with other ordinary mechanism provided by the legislator to protect their rights, even more so when it did not prove that occurrence of irremediable damage, a situation by virtue of which the protection action become inadmissible. So this here, the challenge of the guardianship ruling issued on November 25th, 2020, added by an order of December 2nd, 2020, demodulated by the order of December 18th of the same annuity issued by the 11th Administrative Court or Orality of the Bogota Court, it is a sign of respect for the governance that the Ministry of Health and Social Protection has as the governing body of health in the country. So the next paragraph, according to the Ministry of Health at the time, the country reported a daily figure of more than 8,000 infected people and more than 150 deaths that are the product of internal transmission in the country. Faced with these own figures, he pointed out an implausible that the arrival of a few infected people from foreign countries can substantially modify the level of internal transmission. It indicated that the frequency of infected in travelers is not expected to be greater than 5 per thousand, and in any case, the flow of arrival of people has been substantially reduced during the pandemic. Then it is also pointed out that it must be considered that the requirement of a negative test does not guarantee that people who arrive in the country are free of COVID-19. These tests reach their maximum capacity to detect the virus between the day 3 and day 8 after infection. It points out that infected people who are tested before day 3 window period and after day 8 could be negative even though the people are actually infected and can infect others. Carrying out the test could then give a feeling of false security that would, on the contrary, favor the spread of the virus from those who had had a negative test and become infected after it or been in this window period. They also mentioned that there is no way to know if a traveler is infected when boarding a plane and that there are optional difficulties for the requirement, such as the fact that there is no network or international laboratories to validate the test and different ways of carrying out a PCR test. So the court decision also required that removal of the quarantine or preventive isolation measure for a period of 14 days in the place of residence or accommodation provided in advance by each traveler. So again, looking at the article, it just basically shows that, this is all that has been going on, and they're still fighting this case. So due to this person bringing this to the court, that's why in the beginning of January, we are required to bring in the PCR test. Well, now that they're throwing it out again in the courts, so this is basically how it is in Colombia. It's the fact that constantly going back and forth, and I think this is going to be like this for a while, just going back and forth until things starts to cool down. But now they're throwing it out, and I guess that since the person couldn't prove the fact that his health or that he's being threatened in any kind of way by travelers, and the courts are seeing that there is really no need for it for the fact that they cannot detect, because of the false sense of the test. Because although you can take the test, you can be negative at that time, but it doesn't mean that you could be positive, as you're traveling or so. So it really makes no point. In so many words, is what they're saying about the test. So let's jump into the next article. This next article is basically stating, just giving us an update of this ruling. Because you guys know that I've actually reported this from the Ministry of Health on March 11th from the tweet. And here is another update that they're leading into just to give us, more details of what's going on. So the article is from the same source, same newspaper that I'm looking at. It says here from the title, people who arrive in Colombia must continue to present a PCR test. It says here, this will continue until the Ministry of Health issue the resolution of compliance with the suspension of this requirement. So next paragraph, after the government remained in its position of not requiring PCR tests from travelers who entered the country, and after the justice, after challenges, agreed with it, the Director of Migration Colombia, Juan Espinosa, pointed out that the test will continue to be requested until the Ministry of Health issued the resolution of compliance with the suspension of this requirement. So this is something that we've seen before. This is something that happened back in, if I'm not mistaken, I believe in October, somewhere around October, November or so. And during this period, this is when they're trying to bring up the documentation to back up what they're doing, or like basically coming out with the right protocols. If they're going to suspend this, what are the protocols that they're going to move with moving forward? So that is what they're waiting for. So let's move on to the next paragraph. In other words, the office headed by Fernando Ruz will have to publish an administrative act in which it must explain how the protocols and preventive measures will be complied with against the travelers who arrive in the country based on the recent ruling. The administrative courts have revoked the guardianship ruling that established the mandatory nature of the PCR test to enter the national territory. However, the materialization of this decision is given by a resolution of the Ministry of Health, which is in preparation, Espinoza told Blue Radio. For now, and while the Ministry of Health issues said resolution, people who plan to travel to Colombia or already have a ticket have three options. First, carry out the PCR test, which, of course, 96 hours before the date you fly to the country, and with a negative result. Second, enter under the condition of complying with mandatory isolation for 14 days. And third, number three, perform the test within the framework of compliance with the quarantine with a negative result. So once again, from this last article, this is giving us an update that we're just waiting for the protocols to go into effect. Well, I'm sorry, we're waiting for the Ministry of Health to release the protocols of what they're going to do to try to protect the citizens after they've eliminated the PCR test. Who knows what it might be? Maybe they might have us quarantined for 14 days. So it might be a give and take situation here. Or will it just be wide open again before, just like how it was when they just allowed us to go down there without presenting a PCR test and let us do whatever we wanted to do. So those are things that we got to consider and we got to think about regarding the ruling that is going on. So you guys let me know what you guys think about this. Leave a comment below. What are your feelings regarding this? I'm just hoping that they just either eliminate it for good, or just keep the PCR test if they do not, close the borders or something like that. That's what I hope they would do. This is your boy, again, the Solo Traveler ORD. Thanks again. Check out another one of my videos. Please like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to hit that bell. And I'm out.